This has been in your family for more than 100 years.
128.
Though rancher John Ladd says the Biden-Harris administration should never have ended Trump's restrictive border policies.
And Trump had it figured out.
Ladd took us to a border fence constructed during the Trump administration, showing us where smugglers have cut it repeatedly. He's skeptical of Harris's promise to secure the border.
That's baloney. That's an absolute lie. She doesn't care about the border.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. We got to talk about some terrible news for Kamala Harris, okay? Because it's really not looking good for her when it comes to a certain demographic in this country that she should be doing very well with, okay? And no, we're not talking about the blacks in this video, okay? We're going to leave the blacks alone, right? We're going to leave them alone for this video. We're actually talking about the Hispanics, okay? Because Kamala Harris is in a complicated situation with the Hispanics, the Latinos, due to the fact that unlike the blacks, the Latinos do not vote for Democrats at such a high rate, right? It is now an issue for the Democrats because Latinos are mass exiting the Democrat Party every single year, and the numbers are shocking. And part of the reason why we're saying this is because of the issue of immigration. And Kamala Harris went down to the border in a photo op to make it look like she's going to be tough on the border. However, a lot of people are just simply not buying it.
Look, I stood with President Trump when he actually went to the border, to areas that is, notorious for drug smuggling and human smuggling. He stood there. He spoke to the agents. He's been speaking to the boots on the ground for over 8 years. He's spoken to them, asking what's going on. He's gone through the National Border Patrol Council numerous times. He stood there for over an hour in over 100-degree heat with victims of families from illegal aliens, and he spoke to reporters.
From ICE today.
Vice President Harris went down there and she spoke to 2 members of management. She didn't speak to agents. She spoke to 2 members of management. And I'm going to tell you, I bet money that even those 2 members, I feel bad for them because I guarantee you they didn't even want to be there. But she spoke to these 2 members of management and she was there for 20 minutes for a photo op. That's all she did. President Trump actually cares, and he's actually gone down there and met with boots on the ground, and he's done it multiple times for long times every single time he's been there. This is just nothing but a complete photo op. That's all it is. It's her Hail Mary before the election.
We have the vice president coming in today. Why do you think she's here?
Because she's the flip-flopper, and she's trying to get some votes at the last minute. Where was she 3.5, 4 years ago?
How do you feel about Vice President Kamala Harris's visit here today?
I'd like to be over in her face.
What would you tell her?
I'd say, it's about time you visited the border. I said, let me show you what it's really like.
It's all publicity. It's kind of like she's here. She doesn't care. She just cares about winning.
Why do you think she's here?
Politics, of course.
So you're not being fooled?
No, absolutely not. I mean, she's had, 3.5, 4 years to do something of some consequences and hasn't done anything. And I don't think she's going to do anything but carry on another word salad, I guess.
Immigration and Customs Enforcement just released a report that tens of thousands of illegal migrants with sexual assault records, criminal records, have been released into the country. They don't even know where some of them are, or even how they're going to get them back. How does that make you feel?
Pretty scared, but us living close to the border like that, this has been going on for almost 4 years now, so it's not new. It just needs to be stopped.
If you had a chance to talk to the vice president today, what would you tell her?
She's honestly not worth talking to. She doesn't have a clue what's going on in the country. She's just there for herself.
My message to her is go back to San Francisco and fix what you screwed up. We don't need you here telling us what we need, because it's obvious after 3.5 years of being the border czar, she hasn't got a damn clue what's going on and what needs to be done.
Yeah, so you see that, you heard that, okay? Nobody's fooled by Kamala Harris's act, okay? And this is part of the reason why she is struggling with Latino voters, okay? And the border is a big issue when it comes to Latino voters. And that's something that Democrats are kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, because as much as Kamala Harris wants to pretend to be tough on the border, she really can't be, because if she actually got tough on the border, then she would lose a lot of support from the far left. And we know that Kamala Harris is a far leftist. She's a progressive. And that's her real base. Okay. So she's going to try to keep those people satisfied. She cannot secure the border because she is beholden to the far left. Okay. That's what people need to understand. Furthermore, she's also beholden to big corporate America, who are also pro illegal immigration because they want the cheap labor. Okay. So as long as she's beholden to those groups, which she is, she always will be, because she's a puppet. It doesn't matter what she says, right? Like, she's actually paid to let as many illegal immigrants into the country as possible. And if you look at her track record of the last 3 to 4 years, borders are, okay, Biden administration, she did exactly what she was paid to do, right? She accomplished the mission, okay? But the mission's not over, right? The mission is not over, okay? Best believe they're going to continue to allow this for as long as possible, okay? The downside for Democrats is that it's actually making them lose votes among their diversity coalition, right? Mainly, again, black people and Hispanics. Hispanics more than black people, which is the irony here, because I think black people should be more concerned about this than Hispanics and Latinos. But it seems as if, Latinos actually, tend to be more open-minded in regards to politics, right? So they realize that, okay, this is not good for us, right? The people are already here. And therefore, that is part of the reason why they are abandoning the Democrat Party. And these numbers are shocking, right? So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this.
I'm joined by national political correspondent Steve Kornacki to take us through the new NBC News, Telemundo, CNBC poll of Latino voters. Steve, break down these numbers for us.
Yeah, Kristen, some interesting stuff here. Again, we see every 4 years the Latino vote becomes a bigger and bigger share of the overall electorate. Well, among Latinos, our poll shows Kamala Harris leading Donald Trump 54 to 40%. Now, for some context, this is a little bit better for Democrats than they were doing among Hispanics when Joe Biden was their candidate. But I think the bigger story here is historically, 54 to 40 now is a 14-point advantage for the Democrats. Take a look back at the last 3 presidential elections, and these were the results in the exit polls among Hispanic voters. That 14, look at that cut there, almost 20 points less than just 4 years ago. And 4 years ago, we were saying Donald Trump had made inroads with Hispanic voters. This suggests that has continued apace.
So these numbers are absolutely devastating for so many reasons. Mainly, look at the difference between the drop from 2012 to 2016. Democrats lost about 6 points, okay? And then 2020, about 5 points. But then from 2020 to now, we're talking about almost 20-point drop. 20-point drop in support. That's insane, right? It's absolutely insane, okay? That tells you everything you need to know about how Hispanics are like running away from the Democrat Party, right? Like absolutely just abandoning the Democrat Party at a historical pace. And a lot of that has happened beyond 2020 when you have Biden in office and we have unfettered illegal immigration, right? So the more illegal immigration that happens, it seems like the more that you have Hispanics say, no, we don't want to get on board with this, right? Latinos are saying, no, we're not cool with this. And they're going to the Republican Party, which is fascinating because part of the reason for why Democrats want these open border policies is because they believe it's going to help them win some votes with the Latinos and the Hispanic community. But that seems to not be the case. In fact, it seems like it's actually hurting them with those communities. It's fascinating.
So what is driving this shift? Well, we see a few big gaps here. A gender gap. Familiar with this one, certainly. Men tied when it comes to this race. Women, a 26-point advantage. Again, among Hispanic voters here, there's a gender gap, as we see with polls of overall voters. Also, age, a big factor here. Look at this. Voters over 50, Hispanic voters over 50, almost a 60-point advantage for Harris, and she's barely leading with Hispanic voters under 50. In fact, among men under 50, Donald Trump actually leads in our poll by 9 points, 9-point advantage.
Yeah, so again, this goes back to what I tell you guys all the time, right? If you are a straight male, okay, the only reason that I could see that you would vote for Kamala Harris is if you have a little testosterone. And what you're saying here is, you know, in the polls, men under 50, and this is also true with black men as well too, okay, and white men, like basically all men, this is true. The younger you are, the more likely you are to vote Trump, right? If you are a man. But the older you get, the less likely you are to vote Trump. You're more likely to vote Kamala Harris as a man. Well, why is that? It's because as you get older, your testosterone drops, right? So again, these older men that are voting for Kamala Harris clearly, in my opinion, should consider getting a checkup, right? And saying if, you know, they can get something done before they vote, right? Before you go in that voting booth. If you're a man over 50 years old, get your testosterone checked, okay? Get it checked. Make sure that you're thinking correctly before you get into that voting booth. In fact, I'll go as far as to say this. The single most effective thing that the GOP can do, that the Trump campaign can do before the election in regards to ad spending, is to run ads encouraging men to get their T levels checked, right? Get your test levels checked before you vote, right? We need to make that like an actual thing, okay? Get it checked, okay? Get the problem looked at, okay, before you vote, and they'll help you think straight, think properly before you get in that voting booth, right? I guarantee you that probably would sway the outcome of the election, okay? I'm just saying, because we're seeing it in the numbers here, right? We're seeing it. If you are a man and you are thinking about voting for Kamala Harris, get your test levels checked beforehand, right? I'm so serious.
There, men under 50 for Trump. We also see an education divide. Again, we talk about this a lot when we're talking about the overall pool of voters, too. Men without four-year degrees, that's now a double-digit Trump constituency in our poll. Men with degrees, siding with Harris here, bigger margins among women, but we are seeing a bit of that education gap, and we are seeing a religion gap here. Among Catholic Hispanics, 20 points for Harris. Protestant Hispanics, 26 points for Donald Trump. Talking a little bit about the issues, what's the most important issue? We asked in this poll, abortion clocking in there, and Kamala Harris, big advantage. We see that being competent and effective. Kamala Harris leading there as well. But then the biggies, these are the ones that Hispanic voters are saying are the most important to them. Economy, small advantage, Trump, inflation, 9-point advantage. And how about that? On the border and on immigration, Donald Trump with a double-digit advantage, 13 points in our poll. When asked who would be better on this issue, Hispanic voters are saying it's Donald Trump. And that is part.
Wow. That is insane. That is absolutely insane. Among Hispanic voters, the top issue is the border and immigration, and Trump is winning by 13 points. That explains the shift, guys. The open borders agenda of the Democrat Party has backfired on them when it comes to Hispanics, right? Now, it should be backfired on them when it comes to black people even more, right? But again, I just don't think there's anything we can really do about how black people vote for Democrats, right? I'm so serious. After this election, if Trump doesn't get at least 20% of the black vote, I think it's just impossible, right? We just need to stop worrying about that demographic. Like, it just won't matter. So with that being said, Hispanics, though, they are shifting, right? And because of that, the mainstream liberal media obviously is in full-blown cope mode because they know that the reason why they're shifting is because of the border and immigration. And apparently, if you're one of these Latinos that are voting for Trump because of the border and immigration, apparently you are intoxicated on Trumpism and a racist, according to MSDNC. Take a look.
Almost anybody else. Can you talk about how these Latino voters are thinking about immigration and why they lust for the tough hand on the border wall?
So first, I'm clear because people come at me. Kamala will win the Latino vote.
Yes,
right?
And that's clear in the overall
and
numbers.
That's clear, okay. But then, okay, so even think about this idea, send them back. No, there is a small but growing group of Latinos that when you say send them back, they do not see themselves reflected in that them. No, they see themselves reflected as the other. And then you make sense of the numbers that you're seeing out there right now. The Latino electorate is so different from our parents' generation. No, it is an electorate where third-generation Latinos are the fastest growing segment. It is an electorate that is overwhelmingly young. The majority are U.S. born, under the age of 50. and most people speak in English. And so Trumpism is sort of betting on this idea that you can invoke a certain type of racial and ethnic grievance. No, they're betting on this idea that within that segment of Latinos, within that picture, they have become so Americanized, and so assimilated that they too can sort of buy into the nativism and the anti-immigrant rhetoric, and even perhaps with more force. Why? Because there is a fear among some Latinos that we will always be otherized, and we will always be these perpetual foreigners. And when you put all of that together, infused with that fear-mongering, Trumpism is powerful.
Yeah, so just in case you can't understand wokenese, right? What she basically said is that if you are a Latino and you're voting for Trump because of the immigration/border issue, then you're a racist.
Part of a broader shift here on basic attitudes among Hispanic voters toward immigration. Look, when Donald Trump first ran in 2016, 69% of Hispanics said immigration helps the country more than it hurts. That's come down to 62, and the number who say it hurts more than it helps all the way up to 35%. There's something bigger and broader going on here, and I think you can see it finally with this. We ask a basic question of Hispanic voters: which party do you more identify with? 37% now say Republicans, 49% say Democrats, but again, look at how this has shifted in just the last dozen years. In 2012, this was a 41-point advantage for the Democrats. It has come all the way down to 12 points, Kristen. Wow. A 29-point drop in terms of that gap there on which party Hispanics identify with in just 12 years.
The historical data really tells the tale there. Steve Kornacki, thank you so much.
Got it.
Yeah, that really is kind of shocking. And I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that Kamala Harris is going to win the Hispanic vote. There's some polls showing Trump winning with the Hispanics, right, with the Latinos. So if that is the case, then that is a major disaster for Kamala Harris, because she is a so-called woman of color, and she is supposed to be able to get the Latino vote and the black vote. She's supposed to be doing better with those demographics. However, she's not, right? In fact, Kamala Harris seems to be doing better among whites, okay, than so-called people of color. And that is just another sign that our modern day politics in regards to how we've traditionally think about demographics and party identification is changing rapidly, okay? The Republican Party is becoming more, quote, diverse, okay? And the Democrat Party, not so much, right? They're kind of going in the other direction, although they claim to be the party of diversity, right? It turns out when you freely think, okay, that means you're not thinking based off your skin color and your race. This is the result: a mass exodus from the Democrat Party. It's amazing how that works. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.